Eat meat and question everything with Courtney Luna.
Sardines in my teeth.
That's going to be part of the intro. I mean, we're just going for it. We have Serena on the show today and the sardines that are still in her teeth.
I can't get them out.
Do you need a minute to get them out,
No,
or
it's
do
fine.
you want me to keep
No,
talking?
just go. Fine.
Well, you know what? It's perfect because the first thing I wanted to talk about was sardines. So what a great entryway. What are you doing? Because I haven't had any sardines since I
I
did
know.
the challenge.
I
So what
know.
are you doing?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say that I'm glad we're doing this because we haven't just kind of like shot the breeze in a while like this. And I loved your conversation with RV Carnivore because so many of us are still in that messy middle. And I love that you guys called it that. I love the conversations that were going on. It's hard to kind of be in the middle sometimes, right? So okay, back to sardines, which people are probably so sick of hearing about. And a lot of us have done sardine fasting like a couple of days here and there. It was about a year and a half ago when I opened my first can in the car on camera. Like, what the heck? This is so disgusting. And I've done a few, like 2-day ones, and then I did several 3-day ones. And sometimes I just do a day, like just as kind of a reset if I've eaten too much cheese, or not as a punishment, but as a reset. And I think there's a difference. And so right now, I'm currently doing another 7 days. And listen, so I am down like 9 pounds since around the time we saw each other at the retreat. Actually, a little bit before that, maybe a week before that, because I had done a little sardine fast to kind of get myself ready, in better shape for the retreat. And so I'm down almost 9 pounds since like the middle or end of April, which is pretty good. I'm not saying there's no rebound at all after a sardine fast. There might be a pound or two, but not all of it for sure. I feel like I'm leaner, and I do think it's the sardines. But anyway, but when you said you were going to do that 10-day sardine fast before Hack Your Health, it created this like snowball effect with people saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do sardines too. I'm going to do sardines. And you had the challenge going on, and Lisa and Adrian. And I think that it was awesome. You ended up stopping at 7 days, which is still amazing. 7 days of just sardines is amazing.
A lot.
It's a lot. 7 days of just sardines is a lot. And so I did the first couple of days of your 7 with you. And then we were having company, and I was telling her about it, and she watched one of your videos and she was intrigued. So we did a couple of days while our company was visiting. And then as soon as she left, I did 7. And then I ate normal carnivore for a week. And then I did 5. And now I'm doing 7 again. I think I did 1 day last week, again, just as a reset, not as a punishment. And when I used to do stuff like that, it was to punish myself for binging or going off
Like
the rails from.
Yeah, like a binge restrict sort of mindset, but
Yeah,
it's different now.
Yeah,
Because there's
it
no
is. And I think
restriction. We're still eating as much as we want.
that's exactly right. It just so happens we usually don't eat a lot of sardines. That's that whole "are you sardine hungry" thing, right? And so my problem with a sardine fast, though, is that I do tend to undereat when I do a sardine fast. And so this time I'm correcting that. I'm going to do the 1600, maybe it'll be between 16 and 1700 calories, which is my normal weight loss calories. And the reason I'm doing that instead of my maintenance calories is because I am in weight loss mode. Again, I had gained 17 or 18 pounds back after I hit my goal, which sucks, quite frankly, but it did happen to me. Under eating, over fasting, sure, eating a little bit too much sometimes, too much dairy, but mostly it was under eating, which I know people think is ridiculous, but it's true. You can under eat and gain weight. And so anyway, so I have about 9 pounds, 8 or 9 pounds left now. And I think the sardine fasting is a great way for me to get there. So I'll do this between 16 and 1700 calories of sardines, which is at least a can more than I usually eat. I typically eat 2 to 3 cans, which does have me at a pretty big deficit. And so my goal here this time, along with losing the 5 or 6 pounds that I'll lose this week, I might gain 1 or 2 back, but most of it will stay off. And the reason I'm doing it is there have been some naysayers in the carnivore community
So annoying.
Yeah, because those same people, some of them will do a water fast for a day or two and look at it as a reset, right? And that's how I look at sardines. And the truth is, I would rather eat sardines than water fast. My glucose gets lower, my ketones go higher than a water fast. So there is something to those little fishies. There's something about them, those magic little fishies, as Lisa likes to say. And I do think that there is something magical about them. I don't know exactly what it is, but so the naysayers are saying it's just because we're in such an extreme calorie deficit. And we are in a deficit, most of us, because we don't eat the full amount. But Kelly Hogan does eat the full amount. She eats her same amount of calories, which for her is like 2,200 calories of sardines, which is a lot of sardines. It's like 6 or 7 cans some days. I think it would be
fat.
6.
Like she's then having fat. Like a lot of people, I think, do the boneless, skinless, like in water or something, or even oil and drain it out. But the important thing is, especially to like be getting enough calories, to have that fat.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And I'm not sure what Dr. Boz's reason for saying that, but she says the fat is really important. I don't think she says it's because of calories, but the fat is really important. And that's important to me to get those extra calories in, because otherwise I'm eating 700 or 800 calories a day, right? With 2 or 3 cans. I'm not always drinking the olive oil. It's a little bit hard to swallow sometimes. So sometimes I'm using the avocado oil mayonnaise on it. Just now I had some brown butter ghee that came in the mail today. And so I poured some of that over it. Did change the flavor a little bit, just enough to make me not gag on my 4th can just now. But so Kelly Hogan eats her full amount of calories. I'm doing a little bit of a restriction. So just my weight loss calories, which is between 16 and 1700. I think your calories for weight loss are about the same, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So the macros.
I was nodding, but then I remembered not everyone's watching this, that they're listening on their podcast app. So I had to chime in with the yes.
Yeah. So the macros end up being about 75-25, 75% fat, 25% protein, which are normal carnivore macros, but those macros don't work for me for weight loss typically. It just doesn't work for me. I know your macros are more like upper 60s to 30%, 60-30, 65-35, something like that. And that doesn't really work for me. I'll lose a pound or 2. And then I just kind of get stuck again. What works for me typically is super high fat carnivore, which is even harder to stick to than sardines, like 85 to 90% fat, which means I can barely have 1 hamburger patty in a day. And the rest of it mostly has to be fat. And that's really hard to stick with. So the sardines keep me full, satisfied. I don't crave anything. I don't want anything. I certainly don't want the sardines, but I know when my next meal comes, that's what I'm having. And so it does take some of the pressure off, and I can open and eat a can of sardines in 60 seconds. And so I know some people like to cook them. They like to fry them in butter. They put them in the air fryer, and it's just not worth it to me for something that takes 60 seconds to eat. I'd rather just scarf it down and be done with it and know that I'm nourished and I'm full. I'm going to be satisfied. I'm not going to want anything else. So I think the sardines can be a great tool. So that's my week-long experiment. It's 7 days at those macros and those calories. Next week, I will follow the same macros and calories, except I will eat normal carnivore foods. And I can't wait to see what happens, because my glucose comes way down on a sardine fast. Like when I finished the last 7-day, my glucose was like 72 or something, and my ketones were 4 something, I think. I've gotten them up to 5 with a sardine fast, which is pretty high ketones. And so I'm curious to see what happens, because I know that at a normal 75-25 ratio for me, I am barely in ketosis, like barely at all, maybe 0.5, certainly under 1. And my glucose stays in the 90s typically for me on normal carnivore. And so am I still that insulin resistant? And why do the sardines work better? If the macros are the same, right? Protein, fat are the same, the calories are the same. Why would the sardines work better? So I still won't know the why necessarily. I'm going to do some research, but I still may not know the why, but I'll know the how. Like I'll know that the sardines just work better, same macros, same calories, but I think my ketones will be higher, my glucose will be lower. So it'll be an interesting experiment. I'm curious to see what happens with it, because there are so many naysayers that say, oh, you'll just gain the weight right back, or this can't be healthy, or you're bringing, eating disorders into carnivore. And I just don't agree with that. I think people who fast, it's just doing a sardine fast is the same thing, right? I mean, how is that different? And people do lion diet, and people say I think everybody's in agreement that the lion diet is amazing for you, right? So why is it so hard to believe that sardines could be different too? I don't like sardines by any means, and I wish it wasn't so. I wish it was, ground beef that was so magical, but I really think there's something about the sardines.
Yeah, and that it's a good point about like the lion diet because doing lion diet, like that's widely accepted. And,
Hmm.
if you're just having, lamb and beef, like it's typical like mono eating. So what is it about the sardines that
Hmm.
is triggering to people? Like why are they so upset? To
Hmm.
me, sorry, I feel like maybe it's a little bit of jealousy because when you do this, you're losing weight. And I think maybe some of these people, I don't know. Like I'm
Hmm.
not sure why people are getting so triggered and upset about this.
Hmm.
I don't see how it's disordered eating, especially I mean, you're allowed to eat as much as you want. Yes, my
Hmm.
calories were probably on a lower side, but I wasn't doing that on purpose. I was eating
Right.
till I was satisfied. So it's like
Right.
I wonder what it is about this that's getting under people's skin. It's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know why people get upset about it, but I do feel like it's another tool in our toolbox to get us to where we want to be. And if I've already done so much healing and I've already given up so much, right, to be a carnivore, and I'm glad to do it, right? I mean, the way I feel as a carnivore, I'm glad to give up all of those things. But if I can have this other tool in my toolbox, just this extra thing to help bump me when I need it. And even if it is about the weight loss, why is that so wrong, right? Why is it so wrong that I want to get off the last 8 or 9 pounds again and get to where I was before I gained the weight back? Why is it wrong for me for that to be my focus right now? I'm not obsessed about it. It's not an unhealthy thing. I'm not, weighing myself 15 times a day. I weigh myself once a day. Yeah. But I also don't think I'm obsessed with that. You know what I mean? I know there's that whole throw out your scale movement, and I don't agree with that. Because some of those same people will also say, don't track your food. Well, if I'm not tracking my food and I'm not weighing myself, how do I know if it's working, right? How do I know if what I'm doing is working? And if it's not, how do I fix it if I don't know what I'm doing, right? If you're not tracking your food, which I'm not always a tracker, but if I was trying to get weight off or trying to figure out what was wrong, I would certainly track my food. So if we're not tracking our food and we are also not weighing ourselves, when 6 months go by and you finally weigh yourself or you start to get frustrated, I'm sorry, but it's kind of your own fault. I mean, if you aren't doing those things to hold yourself accountable, you're eating whatever carnivore food you want without tracking. Now, I don't think people should track at the beginning. I think you should give yourself 60 or 90 days, especially if you're coming from eating disordered or disordered eating backgrounds like you and I. I think you should give yourself the 60 or 90 days to learn, to fuel your body, to nourish your body, to learn what being hungry and full kind of feel like. But after that, if you don't feel like things are working, that's when it's time to buckle down, track your calories. Not everybody needs to track, that's true. But it does help me in those moments, in those times where I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. You're tracking your calories right now. I think there's nothing wrong with tracking your calories. There's also nothing wrong with weighing yourself if it helps keep you accountable. There are times where I want to eat something different or I want to overeat cheese or something. But if I'm in the middle of a challenge or I'm providing my numbers to you guys or even just to you privately, I'm not going to do that because I'm accountable for that now. So there really is the community, and it doesn't have to be a group. You don't have to be paying for a challenge. You don't have to be paying for a support group. Just having somebody in your community, somebody you become friends with online to kind of share those things with can make a huge difference. But just in general, I don't think everybody needs to track, but I also don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Just like I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to lose that last 10 pounds. I mean, that's my goal and I want to get there. And if that's the only thing I have left, then why is that wrong?
Yeah, and tracking macros and all that gets a bad rap from a lot of people too. And it's like,
Yeah.
what is so wrong about having data? Like you said, how
Hmm.
can you make changes? If things aren't going right on your weight loss journey, how do you know what you should change if you have zero data? And a lot of us don't get to our goal easily. There's some
Right.
people, it's like, oh, I started carnivore and I dropped 500 pounds and now I'm at my goal weight and it was so easy. Well, a lot of us struggle and a lot of us
Hmm.
like to eat. And it's hard to get to your goal without having some type of guidance. And maybe our hunger cues are still out of whack. Like, I don't know. But yeah, having that accountability too, like that's a huge part of it. Because yeah, I mean, or even just saying you're going to do something like the sardine challenge. Like, if I would have just done it on my own without saying anything, I probably would have stopped way earlier than I did. But knowing that I'm like sharing with people and all that, it really helps to keep you on track. So maybe I need to do it again.
Mm. Yeah, I like to say track it so you can tweak it. That's when I was still like actively coaching. that was kind of one of the things I came up with, like, track it so you can tweak it. There's nothing wrong with tracking it, just so you can figure out what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right. Like, right. Like, you might go for 3 weeks or a month, you drop 4 or 5 pounds, you feel great. And then the next month you're not losing weight and you're not feeling your best. You can go back and look and see, what was I doing when I was feeling better? Right. Or you can feel really great and say, why didn't I feel like this last month? And you can go back and see what you were doing last month. And so, I mean, like you said, there's nothing wrong with having that data. I think, I think having that data, information is so important. There's a saying about that. What's it called? What is it? I wish I hadn't even said that now, because I can't think of what the saying is. A bunch of people are going to comment what the saying is. Like, knowledge is power.
Okay.
Knowledge is power. I think if we know what we're doing, we have the power to change things. And if we don't know what we're doing, then how can we fix it, right? Or make it better?
Yeah. And it's so crazy though, just like the amount of judgment when we're all on the same team. Like,
Yeah.
tracking works for some people, sardines work for some people. Can we just like leave us alone if you don't like that? I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. And I get a lot of comments from people that are so glad. Like, I made a story this morning saying, I know some of you guys are sick of hearing about sardines, but I got messages from 10 or 15 people saying, thank you so much for sharing this, because it can be such an important aspect. Something like this, like a little hack, can go so far. It can go a really long way on the journey that we're on, right? Because people get stuck, people have plateaus, people start to get frustrated. And the thing is, if you get stuck for a really long time and you can't figure it out, and you're messing with your macros, less fat, more calories, less calories, you start to get frustrated. And so many people quit. And a lot of times when people quit, it's because they're under eating, which is a real problem on Carnivore. But just in general, somebody who quits when they didn't have to, when maybe something like a sardine fast just for 2 or 3 days could have kicked them back into ketosis, help the scale get moving again, and encourage them to keep going. I would much rather advise somebody to try a sardine fast than have them just quit. Right. I mean, I think we're here to help people. That's why we're doing this. That's why we talk about it, is to help people. And so I'm grateful you said you were going to do the 10 days, because I wouldn't be as into it as I have been since then. Because that was, when was that? Like end of May, right?
Right before KetoCon, which was, I don't know, end of
May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the last week in May, because that was when we had company. And so I'm so glad that you kind of rejuvenated that movement. And I've done 7 and 5 days since then, and multiple, 1, 2, or 3 day fasts since then. And it's been worth it. Like, I feel really good. I have energy. They give you so much energy. If I eat them too late in the evening, I can't sleep. So there is something about them. And I think it's an important discussion, because so many people are kind of negative about it and calling it disordered eating, but it's not any more disordered eating than the Lion diet is. I mean, and you're the one that said that first, when you first started and people were giving you a hard time about it, that you're the one that said that first about the Lion diet. And I think that that's totally true, that the Lion diet is looked at like it's elite, but you throw some little fishies in there and people freak out.
Yeah. I don't remember saying that. So yay me.
You did. You did. Yeah, you said
it. Shoot, I was going to say something else, and now I lost my train of thought. I got distracted by that.
You said maybe you should try it again.
Yeah, maybe I should. And maybe
you could just
do it with more fat, because I was low on the calories. And there was like one morning where I woke up, my blood sugar was very low, and I felt weak. Like when you've been sick in bed all day, like I woke up kind of like feeling like that. So for me, yes, if I did it again, I would want to probably get my calories up a little bit. And that will be interesting to see how that works for you, being, at your regular macros as opposed to being low, and see if you still get the same benefits from it.
Yeah, I'm really curious. And I think that I will. So on the days where I was eating 3 cans, I was eating about 1,200 calories, which is more than I thought. I wasn't really computing it right in my head. And then I saw it in one of Kelly's stories recently. I was like, oh, wait a minute. That is so many more calories than I thought for 1 can with the 2 tablespoons of oil, because your can is going to say drained on it. So it doesn't include that oil. And Kelly's measured it, and it's about 2 tablespoons. So if you either drink that olive oil, which is what Dr. Boz mostly recommends, she says, just drink the olive oil and you're good. But the fat's really important. So typically I drain it and add the avocado oil and mayonnaise. It just makes it taste more like tuna. It makes it more palatable for me. And so I wasn't computing it right in my head. So it was actually probably like 1,200 calories, whereas I thought I was only eating like 600 or 700 calories some of those days, but I wasn't. I was eating more than I thought. But 1,200 is still way too much of a deficit for me. And so it was somewhere, it was like 11 to 1,200. And so raising it to 1,600, I think helps me. So it ends up being, would that be about 400 calories a can if you include the added fat to it?
Okay.
And so that's kind of an easy way to figure. It's not exactly 400, but it's pretty close to that. And so if I add the avocado oil mayonnaise, which I'm not measuring, I'm just scooping it out and putting it on there, twice, however much that is. I've been going through a lot of mayonnaise, but we're saving money on groceries. I'm saving time cooking. I'm still cooking for my family, but I think it's been good for me. Like I have a really hard time with discipline. And so this has been really good for me to say I'm going to do it and then stick with it because people are watching.
Yeah. Yeah, I was getting the ones in oil, but draining it off and doing
Right.
like mustard. So I think, oh gosh, am I getting roped into doing this again?
Maybe.
I am so easily influenced.
Just do 3. Just do
I
3
might.
days.
Well, I'll probably start out with one and
Yeah.
not even like make a thing about it. I'm not gonna, if I do
Oh, yeah.
this, I'm not gonna declare I'm doing another fat. Like I want to be able to have an out
Yeah.
if I
I don't
want
blame you.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, to switch gears a little bit, have you been running?
I'm a week behind you
Okay.
on the plan, and I haven't decided for sure if I'm going to sign up for a race, but I do want to run again. And I said that last month one day that I went outside to play with my teenage girls and our dog. She likes to play hide and go seek. The dog does. So we were outside playing with our German Shepherd, and like I had a hard time running from her. Like we had to run and hide around the corner and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is hard for me. I'm lifting weights 4 to 5 times a week pretty religiously. Like we've taken a few weeks off since October, but only if we're on vacation or like the week between Christmas and New Year's, or if we finish one program and we're moving on to the next one. But other than that, it's been 4 to 5 days a week, pretty good. And so I'm doing that and I go for some walks, but I'm not getting nearly, I mean, on a busy day here at home, making lotions, doing laundry, cleaning up the house, I might have 3,000 steps some days. So I'm not walking like I was last year at this time. Last year at this time, I was doing 75 hard and I was exercising a lot. I was wearing a weighted vest, 20-pound weighted vest while I was out walking. I was wearing ankle weights. I mean, I was in much better shape last summer than I am this year. And I was doing a lot more. But, my life has changed a little bit since then. We spent a little bit more time at home this year and, there's just other things going on. But I've run once. So I'm probably more like a week and a half behind you. But after I said that like, I want to be able to run if I have to, or if I just want to, like if somebody's chasing me or something is chasing me, I definitely want to be able to run. And I didn't feel like I was at that point. Like I was doing a little bit of sprinting here and there, but not very much. And so I did one day last week, I ran a minute, walked a minute, ran a minute, walked a minute for 2 miles. And it felt pretty good to get back out there and kind of do it again. But you are training for a half marathon? Is that for sure?
I guess. I don't know how this all like happened anyways. I haven't.
Michelle Hearn.
Yes, but it was also, yeah, in my head,
Yeah.
for like probably like a month. Like I kept getting this nudge, like, first of all, like my body, like I wanted to like move my body more because yes, I do
Mhm.
walks and I lift weights, but it's like something in me, it's like I want to just like go and move.
Mhm.
Um, and then so it was popping in my head a lot. And then I'm like, I guess trying to talk myself out of it, like, no, like I don't want to run too much because like my dad is a runner and he's literally had both of his hips replaced and still runs. Like he's had them replaced because he runs so much. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, Courtney, be for real. Like I'm not going to get to that extreme of running, you know?
Yeah.
So when she suggested it, I'm like, she suggested it like 2 hours after it popped in my head again. Like I was on this trail and I thought about it and then she messaged me and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so weird. Like it's a sign." So here we are.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
haven't totally picked a race. I need to like go into the website. It just I'm so weird. I get so overwhelmed. Like even just like taking the time to go on this website, it's like it's felt like a lot. Like I just have other
Yeah.
things going on right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, she did send me a specific one
Mhm.
that I might do, and if not, then I'll look through the race finder thing. But I think the one she sent me was like end of November. Oh yeah, because it
Oh,
was Thanksgiving weekend,
oh, okay.
which should be plenty of time. And you know what? it's all gonna be plenty of time because even if I just walk the dang thing, like, then
Right.
it would so it's not like I'm, like, training to get the gold medal in this
Right.
race, like,
Hmm.
just to be able to I mean, running the whole thing without stopping might even be a stretch, like, right now I'm running, like, for a minute, essentially, and then walking a minute, like, we are starting couch to 5K, essentially.
Yeah.
So, I am a very beginner, but yeah, I guess I'm gonna do it. I mean, it's so funny because her suggestion was do a 5K, and I'm like, "Well, if I'm gonna do a 5K, like, I'm not gonna just go to a 5K race, like, let's do a freaking half marathon."
Yeah.
So, it's always
Yeah.
I think yeah, I'm like an all or nothing kind of thing
Yeah.
in more
Hmm.
ways than one, clearly, food
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Well,
that's where I'm at.
let's hope the one you picked doesn't also have a marathon, because then you'll be like, well, because I did that once. Like my friend said, let's do a half marathon. And I was like, so we looked it up and there was a marathon too. And I was like, I'm not going to run a half marathon if there's a like, can you picture that? Everybody else keeps going and you like veer off and go to the finish
Right?
line. No, that feels wrong. And so I did. I run 2 marathons, several half marathons, and so many 5Ks I can't even count, over the years. But I hate running, literally every step. I hate it. And the last time I trained for a marathon was, let's see, it had to be almost, she's 17. So longer ago. No, that wasn't the last time. I've done one since then. Maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I did one. And the training was hard, but it got to a point where it was easier. And I remember running, I always ran fasted, except we were running 20 miles. And I remember grabbing an apple out of my car at the 10-mile mark. We had come back around to where our cars were, get a sip of water, grabbed an apple, and I carried that apple for 10 miles. Every now and then I would just take a bite. I jog, I don't run. But I remember training about 17 years ago with my husband. And I remember being on the phone with a friend saying, we're supposed to run 13 miles today. I just don't think I can do it. And she said, it's just one foot in front of the other. It's just like walking. It's just one foot in front of the other. You just do it a little bit faster. I was like, it was easy for you to say you're not training for a marathon. Because when you're actually doing it, it feels so hard. And I don't know that I would ever do a marathon again. I mean, I might would, but the training that goes along with that, it's so daunting to me. Looking at like 6 months of training for that just seems so hard for me. A half marathon just seems more doable, easier. And as we get older, I don't know. You see all kinds of stuff. Michelle Hearn does great with running a lot. There are a lot of people who do great with it, but there are a lot of people who have ended up just like puffy and inflamed from too much running. They call them like aerobic bunnies, like
Hmm.
the women who, and if this is you, I'm sorry, the women who go to the aerobics classes sometimes 2 and 3 times a day, but they just stay like inflamed and overweight, like puffy all the time.
Hmm.
And that used to be me. I was an aerobics person. I was an exercise video person. I was a runner, but I was never thin, you know? And so as we get older, we're supposed to be lifting more weights. We lose so much muscle mass every year. I don't remember how much it is, but we lose a lot of muscle every year as we get older. And so I kind of shifted my thinking to more weight training for that purpose. But like I said, I do want to be able to run if I need to, or if I want to go, play hide and go seek. I might have grandkids someday. I want to be able to run around and play with them. I mean, I'm still in pretty good shape. I mean, I can get up and down off the floor easily. I mean, I'm okay, but I'd rather be in better shape than I am. And so maybe running is the way for that.
Yeah, I think it has its place. I mean, and and part of my like talking myself out of it, I'm like, oh well, maybe I should just stick with sprints. And I think the sprints are great too, but for me, it's like, okay, I want to be able to run far in case somebody's chasing me,
Mhm.
or if there's like a zombie, apocalypse happening. And I think it's just good, like, to mix it up and switch things up. Cause yeah, I haven't really been doing much cardio at all because I've just been walking and lifting weights.
Mhm.
I mean, here and there I'll run around with my kids at the park and we'll play soccer
Right.
or tag, but I mean, it's not like for an hour on end. So yeah, I'm excited just to like mix it up a little bit and it's been nice just to be doing something different and
Yeah.
listen to some music and I don't
Mhm.
know. I mean, so far the longest I've gone has been 30 minutes. So we'll see what happens. Like I was just thinking about that the other day like, oh, okay. Like this is going to be a couple hours
Yeah.
of running. I'm like, ugh, like, oh
Mhm.
my goodness. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. For me, it's audiobooks. I like to find a good audiobook, something intriguing like a mystery or a thriller or something like that, that I'm like really involved with, and I can get through a run easier like that. I think, just like I can get through a walk easier like that. And I almost always have, and I know it's not good for my brain. I know the EMFs, but I almost always have my thing in my ear, listening to something. If I'm cleaning the house, I'm folding laundry, when I'm doing things, I'm always listening to something. I did tell myself last week that I was going to make it a point to use my plug-in headphones more, my plug-in Apple headphones more. But I just haven't done that yet. But I would like to get to a point where I know how to do that again. Like, they get in the way, the cords get in the way, but I'd like to get to a point where I don't have this thing in my ear all the time. But just in general, I'm almost always listening to an audiobook or a podcast. Sometimes I'll rotate between a nutrition book and, some sort of fiction book that keeps me going. It has to be really exciting, so that I'm like, I want to listen to it. And I have to tell myself I'm only going to listen to this book if I'm out exercising. And then that makes me do it.
I love that. And that's so funny because I usually I love a good podcast while I walk, but lately, and no shame, I haven't watched reality TV in 4 years. Like, ever since we moved to this house, Hazel was 2 weeks old when we moved here. We didn't get cable. So I haven't watched all the shows I used to love. And I don't have
Yeah.
time. Really, when am I
Right.
going to watch them? But I just
Yeah.
downloaded the Peacock app, and
Nice.
I've been binging I don't even know if you know these shows because Vanderpump Rules.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so it's on Bravo. So I love Bravo shows, but it's literally been 4 years, and it's been my guilty pleasure. When I go for a walk, I'm not
Nice.
even watching the show. I'm just listening to it.
Yes.
It's so crazy. And so I did watch one of the episodes when I did my last treadmill run, and I'm like, this is amazing. I
Yeah.
get to catch up on my junk
Yes.
TV and get my
Mhm.
exercise in too. So
Yeah.
I've been living my best life.
Yeah, I used to go down. We have a little gym in our basement. So we have a multi-station gym, and we have free weights. We have a treadmill and a spinning bike. And I used to go down there, and it was I would go down 5 in the morning, which I don't do anymore, but I would go 5 in the morning, and I would run 6 miles, and then I would lift weights and then get showered and dressed. And we homeschool our kids like you do. So we're home, all day. So I didn't always shower and get dressed right away, but I would be done with my exercise by the time everybody got up, because I had learned that if I didn't do it first thing in the morning, I wasn't going to do it. And so it was got up at 5 every single day, every day, and got those workouts in. 6 miles on the treadmill. And I did it by watching shows like that. I would watch something on the treadmill that I was only allowed to watch while I was on the treadmill, something exciting, some sort of mystery or thriller or something that I would watch on the treadmill, some sort of cop fiction show or something, a detective show, something like that would keep me oh, I want to find out what happens. And so I would only be allowed to watch that while I was on the treadmill. And it worked for me. It made me go down there every single morning. I would be excited. I would go down there and watch my thing, and it was good. And I should get back into that.
Yeah, it is motivating when you have something exciting to listen to or watch, and
For
you
sure.
have it as the carrot you're dangling to
Yes,
go get your exercise done.
absolutely.
Super fun. Speaking of
Yeah.
long walks out in the sun, I told you this already, but last week I didn't use sunscreen on my legs when we were at the beach, and I got so fried on the backs of my legs. And it is since we're good, but
Yeah.
this is just my awkward plug-in for your tallow, but I
Oh,
used I used your lavender tallow because lavender is supposed to help with burns. There you go. Show everybody the beautiful perfect. Um, I've been lathering up the backs of my legs. Well, I mean, I use it every day on my face anyways, but lathering up the backs of my legs for the last week. And I'm happy to report that it did not peel. It did not do anything wonky. It has just turned to a lovely tan with these horrible. I mean, my legs were white. We've been in winter. I haven't seen the sun. My legs were so
yeah.
white. I sent you a picture. I'm like, look at this line.
I know.
And so the tallow worked wonderfully to
Awesome.
not have me blister and peel and all that sort of things. And then I was telling you about that, and you said you have even some new products coming
Yeah.
out. Are you allowed to talk about that yet? 'Cause this is coming
Yeah.
out tomorrow, so I don't know if it's too soon to talk.
Yeah. I hope it'll be this week. Really all I have to do is my jars just came. So really all I have to do is make some, but I think it'll be this week. I'll put them on the website. Um, let's say by the time the video comes out, that'll make me do it. I'll go down to the treadmill and I'll walk while I add them to the website.
There you
And
go.
so I actually have a walking pad now too. So I've been using that while I'm
Perfect.
getting orders ready and stuff. But anyway, so I'm doing an after sun lotion. It'll come in the emu oil spray and also in the whipped tallow, and it'll have the oil. It'll be just the tallow as the base. And then it will have We'll have geranium, lavender, frankincense, and peppermint, I think are the 4. Oh, and tea tree oil. So we 5 essential oils in it. And those are all really great for repairing your skin and healing your skin. So that's a mixture we've been using for 12 years on our skin when we get sunburn.
Curious
and overnight.
Though. The tea tree wouldn't burn?
No. And the peppermint like cools it off. Like it adds, like
Okay.
sunburn usually like burns, obviously sunburn, but it stings,
Mhm.
And so you put this on, like there's an immediate sting, but then the peppermint cools it off. And the lavender is really good for your skin. It's good for healing. And so a lot of times it'll take a sunburn, and by the next morning, sometimes it'll be more of like a tan. And most of the time we don't peel when we use that blend. But I have a blend. I have it in my bathroom. I've had it in my bathroom for years. We take it on vacation with us. We always have that blend with us to help us. And I don't know why it took me so long to think of it. And then I'm also going to have a magnesium lotion probably by the end of the week also. So I'm kind of excited about those two. Those are 2 things that people have kind of asked me for. And so this will be a fun week trying to come up with the right ratios of things for those. So I think it'll be good.
Okay, awesome. And can I plug my discount code? Is that okay?
Do it.
Okay, use code Luna for I don't know how much off your order. But
It's
it's
10%,
10.
10% right now. But anytime I run a sale, like we're going to do a Christmas in July sale this month. And anytime I run a sale and the discount code gives 20% off for the sale, your code becomes a 20% off code also. So if you guys ever see a sale on the Purely Tallow lotion, know that the discount codes that people have given you, that your favorite people that you follow have, those discount codes are also 20%. If I'm doing a sale, it's 20%, because I didn't want people to come to the website to order and use my discount code for the sale instead of using your sale if you have just talked about my lotion or something, or I wanted you to promote the sale because you want your people to buy the lotion, but then they go to the website and there's a 20% off coupon there, they're not going to use yours. So I make everybody's discount codes 20% when I'm doing a sale like that. So
Awesome. Amazing. And it truly is amazing stuff. I've been using it for quite a while now. And recently you've done the oil cleanser, which I love. I've been actually using oil cleansing method for probably, oh gosh, like 14 years now. I first discovered it with Crunchy Betty. And I did a blend of jojoba and castor oil and literally used that as my face wash for the last like 14 years. But now I've switched over to yours, which is better and amazing. And yeah, I use your skin creams all the time. I use the unscented. I've used it. How do I like say this without being rude? We'll just call it with like a diaper cream for my kids, even though they weren't in diapers at the time. So like any like issues down there. What else? Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time, and the texture is amazing because there's some out there that are just more like solid, and yours are all like whipped, which I love.
Yeah.
And they're just easy to like spread.
Yeah, I don't have any that are like just the tallow. They all have like either camel hump fat or beeswax, or which isn't in the lotion, it's just in the candles and the lip balm, but they'll have the camel hump fat or the goose fat in it because I've done research and I have found the best animal fats rather than using jojoba or olive oil or coconut oil in them. I would rather use those animal fats that are more compatible with our skin on a cellular level than something like coconut oil or jojoba oil. And so that's why I use those different animal fats. And I've spent time, the emu oil in particular works great. And so I've spent the time to figure out the right ratios of those things that make it, a good texture. And so, I mean, I enjoy them, and it's been fun to come up with all the different ones and to see people posting about it. People really like it. And so I'm really, really grateful. It's been really fun to watch it grow.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. And it's always nice, like we're all making these small changes to be like less toxic, and your skin is like, what is it? The biggest organ in your body or whatever. So you need to like put some good stuff on there. So go get some of Serena's tallow.
Yeah. Your skin is your largest organ, and what you put on it absorbs into your bloodstream within 30 seconds. So think about that next time people put toxic stuff on, or they mop the floor with like one of those Clorox toxic things, and then their babies walk across the floor barefoot. Know that, and everybody has a kid who walks across the floor right after they mop it, right? And even those Clorox wipes that we use to clean with, the ones that pull out of the tub, most of those kinds of wipes of that variety say that you're supposed to wash the table or the desk or whatever afterwards. You're supposed to take it off, and nobody ever does. So a lot of them say that. And it's because they're toxic. We wipe them off and then we let our kids eat their food right off of it.
Oh, I didn't know. And I've used those a lot in the
Yeah, me
past.
too.
I
I
didn't
used
know
to
it
use
said
them.
that.
Yeah, I used to use them. We use vinegar to clean now, vinegar with maybe some essential oils in it. But once the vinegar dries, it doesn't smell at all. And vinegar
Yeah.
kills 99.9% of germs, just like Clorox
Yeah.
does.
Well, what's
Just like those
interesting
wipes.
though, vinegar is actually like a very popular cleaner. Like when I was working on
Mhm.
boats, like granted,
Yeah.
they would use like other stuff that were toxic. It wasn't because it was non-toxic. It was just a
Right.
common, like all the boats I worked on, they always had bottles of vinegar and water to clean everything with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, interesting.
That's great. Yeah.
So, yay. Thank you so much for being here. So fun to
Yeah.
chat with you, like actually seeing
know.
you instead of just
I
sending
know.
each other long voice messages all day long. Like Serena is
Like
my
10
podcast, you guys.
10 to 12-minute voice messages all day long.
I love
So
it.
much fun.
I
So
love
much
it.
fun.
Well, let everyone know where they can find you.
So I am Serena.Carnivore on Instagram and on TikTok, but things are just carbon copied to TikTok. So Serena.Carnivore on Instagram. And then my YouTube channel is The Carnivore Revolution. And my tallow lotion can be found at Purely Tallow Skincare on both Facebook and Instagram. And purelytallow.com is the website. So
With discount code Luna.
yes, with discount code Luna, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You'll have to join me again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.